Hello everyone and welcome back to another quick guide. As always, I'm Drew from Team Future Strategy, and before we get started, feel free to like the video down below if you do like it, dislike it if you don't, and hit that subscribe button as a free way to support the channel. Now for this quick guide, let's take a look at Dohn Mheg. This is the second dungeon in the Shadowbringers expansion and will be unlocked around level 73 when you are on the main story quest, The Key to the Castle. Aesthetically speaking, what a beautiful dungeon. Alright, you walk through a portal to go to what looks like a cross between Alice in Wonderland and Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Thematically, at this point in the main story quest, you know that you're looking for light wardens in each zone, and this one is locked away in the main castle of Dohn Mheg. In the first section, you traverse what looks like a putt-putt course, and then you move to the eventual first boss, Dohn. I happen to believe this boss has one of the harder mechanics within this dungeon, so let's go over what you're going to see. First is Candy Cane. It's a standard yet heavy-hitting tank burst. Tanks should use a cooldown, and healers can use 1 to 2 off-global cooldown heals to catch back up. Next, you'll have Hydro Fall. This is a player-targeted AoE that sends a large dewdrop to its location, and then it will deal heavy damage to anyone inside. Just move out as necessary. Laughing Leap is the next mechanic, and this is one the group will need to pay some attention to, as it has 2 different versions. Version 1, Dohn will target a player and show the stack mechanic with those arrows, at which point players should run to the tank and the group members stack up to help soak that damage. With the other version, is actually going to target the center of the room and leap in, dealing damage to anyone caught inside the mechanic. While both are relatively straightforward, immediately following this, you're going to have the final, in my opinion, most difficult mechanic to deal with. Lance Blood deals pulsing party-wide damage and is combined with several blue water AoE markers appearing around the arena. These markers will have 2 different types of opaqueness, I guess is the way to say it. Each marker will start opaque before a pulse, and after the pulse it'll darken. Ones that are fully formed will then explode outward in a small AoE. Any player caught will be dealt damage and stunned in the process. You know which ones are about to explode if they are bubbling. My best advice for handling this is to stand away from ones that are about to explode, then run into that area that the explosion came from, as it'll take at least 2 more pulses before that area is no longer a safe zone. Complete all that, kill some more trash, and we move on to the second boss of the dungeon, Grial. With Grial, Swinge is the first mechanic to look out for. It's a frontal cone attack that targets a random player. Just move out as necessary. After Swinge, you have Fodder. Fodder happens when Grial moves to the center of the arena and summons 5 untargetable sapling adds. Each of these adds will then have a tether connected to the boss. Now, 4 out of the 5 tethers will need to be intercepted. At the end of the ability, any tether that's connected to a boss or a player will add the growing buff. It'll increase the damage of the player, reduce the damage taken, and actually increase the physical size of that player. So you want to make sure that Grial doesn't get more than 1 at a time. Next, you have Timber, which is a group-wide AoE damage that your healer can just heal through, but it comes with Coiling Ivy. Coiling Ivy will spawn roots on each of the players, and they will immobilize each player until that Ivy is killed. My best advice on this particular mechanic is after Fodder is dealt, and you've dealt with the tethers, everyone should move to the boss or close to the center of the arena. That way when the roots come out, you can just AoE down, continuing dealing damage on the boss, as well as getting everyone out of their immobilization quicker. After Grial, we finally move into the castle. You go through a small, maze is not the right word, but you go through a small pass to get to the final boss, and what do you know? It's again. Okay, so Crippling Blow is your standard tank buster, just heal and use CDs as necessary. Virtuistic Capriccio, moderate AoE that has a weak debuff that gets applied to each of the players. Actually, later in the fight, will cast that 3 times in a row, but the bleed does not stack. So the big thing for this, healers just make sure you use Asuna on this. Now there's 2 different choir attacks. The first is Imp Choir. This is a standard look away. It'll turn anybody into an imp for 6 seconds if you get caught. Just turn your character model. Toad Choir is a little bit more complicated. This one will target a random player and cast a untelegraphed frontal cone AoE. Now players that are caught in that cone get turned into a toad for 6 seconds. Since there is no visible telegraph, the best thing to do is to stay close to the boss during this fight and just walk behind him when you see him turn. Funambulous Fantasia. Dohn's going to move to the back of the arena and push all the other players to the front of the arena. He's going to create a massive gap that has a tightrope mechanic involved with it. Now, you just have to traverse the tightrope and get over to Ankh-Thon. Mobility and teleportation skills are not going to matter, so just take it slow and steady. While this is happening, Ankh-Thon is going to be surrounded by a barrier, and he will summon Liar's Lyre, which is essentially a mirror image, and they will start casting Finale. What you want to do, get across that barrier, or excuse me, get across that tightrope, get into that barrier, start damaging it down, and that way you can interrupt Finale. If Finale does go off, anybody who's not inside that barrier is going to be killed instantly. After that goes off, Ankh's actually going to transform into the Shade of Fear. Shade of Fear only has 2 attacks you need to worry about: Corrosive Bile, which is a cone attack that leaves a dot, and then Flailing Tentacles. You'll see the tentacles, they will go out with a line attack when this happens. Just make sure you avoid that. If you don't, it's moderate damage, but it inflicts concussion, which is a high damage dot over time. So make sure that you get out of that so you don't stress your healer too much. Now, if you perfect the tightrope and stay behind the boss for a majority of it, the clean kill is going to be easy to come by. Don't even worry about that. Thank you so much for watching this guide to Dohn Mheg. As always, like and subscribe below if you enjoyed the video and if you want to see more of my content. Until next time, I'm Drew from Future Strategy Gaming. Peace out.